Hey there everybody, Mazarok here, and today I want to talk about Thundering 2.0, the new reworked to Thundering. Funny enough, for me because I found that my first video was really angry and really ranty. So I wanted to just kind of dial that back again and take a little bit more of a calm approach to this. If you do want to see that video in particular, I am going to upload it as a Patreon exclusive. So if you want to watch that one, you can go there. Links down below. There's a Discord link down below as well if you want to talk about anything that you hear about here, and or just be filled around a bunch of wonderful people. There's a Twitch link down below if you wish to watch me stream, and please like, comment, subscribe. We are so close to 4K subs as of recording this. Thank you so much. I'm flabbergasted for all the support. Let's get into Thundering. So the new Thundering affix, I'm trying to do this and not be angry. So what it is it marks 4 players, 2 with a mark of lightning and 2 with a mark of air, and what happens is when you have this mark, you get a 15% damage and healing increase for 15 seconds, but at the end of that 15 seconds, you can be stunned for 8 seconds if you do not meet the opposing mark. So lightning has to meet air, lightning has to meet air. Pretty simple, except it's Mythic Plus, and it's specifically 5-man. So the tanks rarely get affected with this. So what it mostly is healer and 3 DPS get affected with this, mostly leaving out the tanks. Now, I don't want to say completely. If someone dies, the tank gets affected by it. And it also seems to be somewhat random, like it favors the healer, but it's not always the healer. I want to say in a whole night of doing keys in the new dungeons, I maybe got it 10 times, and out of those maybe 7 of them were because someone was dead. I just don't understand the reason to make an affix that literally only interacts with 80% of the people in the party. Like, that to me kind of mind boggles me when you break it down to the core consumption. Now, you're going to say, oh, well, it's an 8-second stun. You don't want the tank to have it. Well, yeah, I get that. I don't want the tank to, I don't want to have an 8-second stun. That sucks. But the problem is this is very difficult for me without starting to get very difficult and very angry, is I don't want an 8-second stun, but I also want to, be included. I want to be included in the damage buff. I want to be included in mechanics. Just having something that negates someone or just misses someone, why would you make an affix like that? That just kind of weirds me out. Now, as a tank, if the tank gets an 8-second stun and has no way to get rid of it, IBF, bubble, etc., it's basically a wipe. You're going to die. The dot is sizable, and once you're stunned for that long, the enemies will start attacking the rest of the party. So it's basically a death sentence. It's basically a wipe, which the irony here is they came out and they said they want to make the seasonal affix less impactful. In all of the dungeon testing that I did, we had more group wipes to the seasonal affix than anything else. That means it's insanely impactful. And I don't know why you could say, well, we want the seasonal affix to be less impactful. 8-second stun. Yeah, no, 8-second stun. That's how we make this. That's how we do it, right? The two don't correlate. The two don't make sense. The two mentalities are fucking off in, like, one's in Narnia and one's in Middle-earth. We're not even in the same ballpark, man. So I don't understand why this has been kind of even thought up as a thing. I really would like to see some sort of rework to it, because it's especially true where, like, as the tank, you don't get it. Everything's going great. Let's say it favors the healer, it favors the DPS, it's doing as it's supposed to. You're just there. Someone dies, you now have it. When someone dies, things get harder. Plain and simple. For you as the tank, things start getting harder. You have to pump a little bit more DPS, you have to work a little bit harder towards survival, you have to work things out, because the pack is going to last longer. The longer a pack lasts in Mythic Plus, the less defensives you as a tank has to deal with things. So it just makes things harder. Add the possibility of an 8-second stun to that because someone died. So let's take a bad situation and make it worse. Now, this is the Anduin mechanic, and I know where people are coming from. Oh, it's just hit the opposite thing. Have you ever tried to pug Anduin with the average player base in World of Warcraft? It never goes well. After 2 seasons of doing Sepulchre of the first runs, I have still seen people get kicked or benched for not understanding this basic mechanic. If you are a good player, okay? If you're a good player, you do the mechanics, you get your shit done. This is going to be an easy affix. Straight up, it is. For the average player base and the average pug, this is going to be a fucking nightmare. Here I am getting angry. But it's going to not be fun. I have literally seen people screw up the most basic of mechanics in Anduin Raid and in Mythic Plus all of the time. After 3 seasons of Shadowlands dungeons, I had seen people who their Raider IO page, here's my Season 1 score, here's my Season 2 score, and here's what I currently am in Season 3, fail at the most basic mechanics of the dungeon. So this is adding a layer of complexity to the average player base that I think is much too impactful and is going to hurt the Mythic Plus game. It really is, and I don't like where this is heading. I would like to see some sort of rework. Now, when we were testing, we were literally telling pugs, if you die, don't release. Don't release, because apparently the affix has no yard range. Like, it should probably be centered, like, whether the tank gets it or not, it should be centered around where the tank is. Because where the tank is 99% of the time going to be where the rest of the party is. But since it has no, like, yard range, someone could release, and at the start of the dungeon, the affix come around, the guy at the start of the dungeon gets it, and then the DPS gets it, and like, well, I'm getting stunned for 8 seconds, guys. Let's try and kill this pack before this is done, because and if it happens on the healer, like, it's done. But apparently, if it lands on your corpse, and we don't know if this is intended or not, at least if it lands on your corpse, then you can just walk over the corpse and have that done. Again, I don't know if that's how it's intended to kind of remove the debuff, but that's what we were doing, and we were literally telling people to not release at all, and it actually worked in our favor. Can you imagine an affix where, like, someone dies and you're like, no, stay dead. You're better off just staying dead. The core, this affix comes as, like, a core where you're like, okay, this isn't bad. But once you start putting this into practice, like, on paper, you're like, okay. But once you start putting this into practice, especially for the more average WoW player base, you know, the people that do anywhere from 10 to 20s in a, like, let's say in this season here, instead of trying to push 23, 24, 25s, those guys are going to be fine, the upper echelons of things. That middle base of people that, you know, actually have to work towards their KSM every season, and not just, you know, I'm going into a season, I know I'm going to get KSM. Like, that's not a question. Like, it's just something that's going to happen because of the type of keys that I do. But not everybody's like that, and there's no problem with that. But this is going to hurt that player base so much harder than everyone else, but because this is going to hurt that player base, this is a group affix that makes it harder for everyone else. If one person is screwing this up, it's going to affect the party very hard. And I mean very hard, and I don't like where this is going. I don't like this affix. One of the things that I would like to see is, if it's intended, keep it on dead people. Sure. Keep it on dead people. Have a yard range around the tank. Let's say it's 80 yards. I don't know. Whatever. But the affix can only affect people within 80 yards of the tank. So then that way, it at least stays within the group, giving you some sort of way to connect with your opposite and remove the buff and not get stunned for 8 seconds. 8 second stun is way too long, by the way. Let's just get that one straight out of the way. But yeah, so, and on top of that, I would actually like to see multiple versions, not multiple versions, but the buff be able to clear multiple times. So let's say it does happen where there's no yardage, right? Someone releases and they get the Mark of Lightning. I have the Mark of Air. So we have 2 Marks of Air and 1 Mark of Lightning right next to each other. The 2 Marks of Air could actually both go to the Mark of Lightning. Now, whether you, like the first one of Air would hit Lightning, they'd remove the buff, they no longer have the damage and healing bonus, but the buff would actually stay on them as a whole, so then that way, the second Mark of Air could hit the Mark of Lightning as well and clear that way. That would actually make this affix a lot easier to do instead of just a one-for-one trade, especially in situations where people have released, are out in Narnia, and things like that. This is one of those affixes where, like Prideful, where one mistake could literally just ruin a key at times, right? If you're running a little tight on time, you're on those last 2-3 packs, but you can get to the boss and you can do it if everything goes right and you guys rush, but someone dies and releases, now they're kind of at the last spawn point and there's no chance in the world that they're ever going to get back. Stunning the healer. If the healer gets a stun for 8 seconds on a difficult pack, it's basically a wipe, right? Unless the tank can survive it, but then you're chewing up so much time. This is actually way too impactful of an affix. I like the core concept. I like where they're going. I want to be constructive about it, but I think there are ways to make this a lot better. One, remove an 8-second stun. It does not need to be that long. You can still keep a stun, but 8 seconds is a little crazy. And like I said, you could probably actually keep the actual, put a debuff on them or whatever, separate the buff from what the actual thing is. So you have the buff of 15 seconds of healing and damage increase, and then you have a debuff on you that's just called Mark of Lightning. It doesn't do anything, but that's how you clear your debuffs, just by coming in contact with it, and then you get a second debuff, and then they could cancel each other out, right? 2 negatives make a positive, or whatever you want. I don't know. That's probably not the right saying. I don't care. But that way, if someone at least has the end of the 15 seconds, the Mark of Lightning and the Mark of Air, by touching another player, which it wouldn't stack, but you could actually get multiple people on the same one, that could be an easy way to, a much easier way to deal with the affix when positioning has gone horrendously wrong. But yeah, so that is what it is. I want to thank my patrons. What do you guys think about the Thundering 2.0 affix? I really hope that they make significant changes to this, and this doesn't go live as is, because this is going to be severely unfun for a lot of people. I think the high skill-based people are going to be fine. I think the average WoW player, and I very much put myself in the average WoW player, right? As much as I would like to say that I'm pushing the highest echelon of keys, I'm not. I like doing, you know, my 15s to 25s. I like rerunning content. I like hanging out with my friends and just running keys. If my friends ask me, hey man, do you want to take this 15? I'll happily do it. I don't care. Is it going to give me IO? No. Could my character use any gear that dungeon? Maybe not. Don't care. I just want to run keys with my friends and have fun. And that is the sort of player base that this is going to hurt a lot, especially because this is the type of affix that can just be the pebbles that start an avalanche, and that means, in my opinion, it's too impactful. But thank you to my patrons so much for all of your support. You guys will be able to check out that exclusive, very ranty video in the next couple of days. Thank you very much for your time, and have yourself a good one. Bye.